Hi, I'm Amy of During Quiet Time. Sometimes I get customer emails saying that they're concerned that they did something wrong because when they printed their foundation patterns, the lines went off the page. That doesn't mean that anything is wrong, it just means that I was providing you with full-size templates for a pattern where the block is too large to fit the pieces on one 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper. So therefore, I need to have those pieces go from one page to another page, and we need to join them along the line. For example, this is an 18-inch square federal building from my next door block of the month. I wasn't able to provide full-size templates for this block that would all fit on 8.5 by 11-inch paper. So we need to print it out on multiple pages and join them together before we piece. I'll show you how to do that next. So I've printed off my next door block of the month federal house to use as an example. The first thing I always like to check are the dimensions to make sure that I printed it out at the right size. So I always have in my patterns an example of a section that you should measure. So here it says that section P should measure 5.5 inches excluding the seam allowance, without the seam allowance. So I'm going to find section P. I usually just choose a section that has a fairly even measurement, and there we can confirm that it's 5.5 inches. So I know that I printed my pattern correctly. So in order to print it correctly, you want to make sure your printer settings are set for actual size, 100%, or scaling none. So once you've done that and you know your pattern pieces are the correct size, you need to be able to connect them so that the pieces are whole. So you can see here the first pieces of patterns will need to be connected to this sheet here to create the complete pieces. So I just take my scissors and cut down this thin line on one of the pages, but not on the other one. I try to do that as carefully as I can. Now we're just going to place that on that same thin line of the other pattern piece and just move it around until all those lines match up. You can just like wiggle it back and forth, figure out where that perfect point is, and there you go. Now I like to use Scotch satin finish gift wrap tape on my patterns because it holds up pretty well under the heat of an iron. So I also like to avoid my stitching lines because that will make it harder to get the paper out. And now they're ready to go. I also always cut my pieces out with a little bit of extra paper around them before I start piecing them. It makes it much easier to hold them and manage the fabric.